But it's a pleasure to have Thales Teixeira here today from the Harvard Business School. This is one of the joys of being an editor of a journal. I know there aren't too many joys. Professor Marcellini here has extensive experience in editing many different journals, but a few months ago I received an article for Media Psychology on aspects of eye tracking, and I was just thinking about whom should I send this to, and looking at different people, and then I came across Thales' work, pretty innovative work in this area, and then I asked him whether he could review the manuscript, and very kindly agreed. And then I started looking at some of his other work, and then I just found it to be so pertinent to so many different constituencies here. Definitely the School of Journalism and Mass Communication, and also in terms of so much of his work has to do with technology. So in many ways, I was just telling Thales this morning, I think he should really be in the School of Media or Department of Communication or something like that. But of course, he's in the marketing unit at Harvard Business School.
Don't you reckon he makes more money there?
I think that's what he does.
I'm not in this for the money, I tell you.
So pretty interesting work. So it's also an opportunity for us today because he studies facial tracking and facial gestures. So there are enough small numbers today present so you can actually study every one of the faces individually. It also might be something.
IRB.
Well, I think we're already seeing some bypassing of IRB because we were at lunch and he asked me, he said, are people really so nice here? We had 7 people when we were walking out from top of the hill. Said, have a nice day, and all smiled at him, smiled at me. So I have no idea in terms of what must be happening. But this work is really pretty interesting because he looks at elements of what makes an internet video ad viral, right? And so much of that has to do with the types of emotions that could be induced, the types of emotional engagement. And so he's been doing some really good, solid work in this area. Thales' work, what I've read, it's so steeped in some really complex modeling, but this is not at the cost of sacrificing good theory. So he's a super complex methodologist and some really deep statistical analysis, but it's not the cost of sacrificing conceptual principles. So his work is really, really interesting. Been already starting to get published in some of the major journals in the field, Marketing Science, that's where his dissertation came out, and has articles in Harvard Business Review and Journal of Marketing Research. And I predict we're going to hear a lot more about him as his program of research goes on. Today he's going to be talking about some of his recent work on viral video ads. So welcome to Chapter 11.
And you were explaining to why Mary Beth's not here. She would really want to hear you.
Yeah, in fact, yeah. So she is in New Orleans. So.
Well, thank you very much. This is a great introduction. Thank you, Sri, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. It's the first time I present in what I consider would be my main home if it wasn't marketing, which is advertising and communications department. So today I'll talk about viral video ads, and the subtitle is Viewed Humor is Not Shared Humor. Unfortunately, I think the slide is deceiving because I got a picture of sort of like a Petri dish with people. The idea was the sharing content, but looking at through a microscope, I do research on eye tracking, but I'm not going to talk about eye tracking today. When I started talking to companies about why they started using viral advertising, I asked them the question, so what are the benefits to you? Why do you decide to use that? A few of the things that came out is one company said, well, the idea is viral advertising is more persuasive because the content is more engaging. Another idea that they told me is that, well, since people are the ones that choose to see these ads and to share with their specific friends, there might be a better targeting capability because if I know what my friends like, I'm going to target to them the ads that I think they'll like, so it's better targeting. And the other one is it seems to be more persuasive if I am watching, I am sending it to you versus just sort of Coca-Cola trying to advertise to you. So these are a few of the effectiveness sides of viral advertising. There's also on the cost side, viral ads are seen to be cheaper both to produce versus a regular TV commercial, as well as to put online to distribute, right? Supposedly, there's little to no media cost involvement, so it's cheaper for a company to use viral ads. So what are the downsides of viral advertising? There's basically two. One of them is predicting the success of a viral ad, which ads that you put on YouTube, you put online, actually go viral is very, very hard. Duncan Watts from Yahoo Research and Jonah Peretti, among many, many others, have shown hard data that sort of 1 in 1,000 ads actually go viral, become successful. So most ads fail. I just have a simple graph here of the ordered rank of videos and the amount of videos views in the first month for YouTube. And notice that this graph is very steep, but it's in the log scale, so it's even steeper than you might imagine. Very, very few, less than sort of 0.1% reach the million mark. And what is probably the reason for that, right? Trying to understand, successful viral ads need to be shared. But when we look at some hard survey data, this one from eMarketer that asks about 1,000 participants, sort of what do you do after you see a viral ad? Notice here that among the many things, only 11% of the people have ever shared a viral ad. So that's 1 in 9 have ever shared a viral ad. So this caught me into asking the question, if viral ads are so hard, why are managers trying to create viral ads? It seemed like, they need to create marketing tools to persuade, to engage customers. But if it's sort of this gamble, why would they ever risk their careers to do so? So this motivates one of my research agendas, which is understanding sort of how to get viral ads to become successful. When I looked I talked to managers at TiVo, and I asked them, give me a list of all of the ads that you've cataloged through your TiVo data, TiVo or DVRs, the ones that are least fast forwarded, the ads that are most viewed by people. And they gave me a list of their top ads, and then I went to actually Facebook. It's YouTube here, but it will apply equally. And I asked them, what are the ads in your platform that are mostly viewed? And then I compared the list of ads, the ones that are most viewed, fully viewed on TV, and the ones that are most fully viewed online, and they didn't match up. The best ads on TV were not the best ads in terms of viewership, were not the best ads online. And so I asked the question, could this be that there's different people watching different videos? When I even restricted to the same amount of people, you would still see differences. So it's striking that there's this quote by eMarketer that says frequently clips from viral ads are repurposed TV ads, so therefore you can see similar ads on TV and online, yet the successful ones in one are different from the successful ones in the others. And the question is, why is that the case? I decided to focus on only humor ads in this research, basically because looking at the compilation of viral ads, around 80% of viral ads are actually humor-based. The other 20% are actually, they span a wide variety of content. Then the second and the third most frequently used is sexual content and violent content, and I'll leave that for Sri to do research on those areas, since he has done that in the past. So in terms of humor, what matters? What are the important elements of humor? So research on TV advertising, humor in TV advertising, shows that humor that is consumed in public is different than humor that is consumed in private. So type of humor matters, so I'll take into consideration the type of humor. And basically 2 distinctive types of humor can be classified among all of these viral ads. One is what we call plain humor, the humor that generates a laughter or a smile and appreciation in that regard. The other one is that also might generate laughter and smiles, but also generates a shocking or a highly surprising element to it. So these are the 2 classifications of humor that I will try to understand the amount in each ad that has of these 2, and understand the impact on viral viewing and sharing. Also, Sternthal and Craig in 1973 and many others have talked about how for humor, timing is critical, right? We can understand if we're good or bad joke tellers depending on how we position the story and how in time we decide to tell the story. And the timing of humor is critical for you to get the joke and to understand the humor. So in viral ads, there might be a question, which is, if people cannot watch the ad, where do you put the humor? Well, One line of thought would be you put it up front because if people might stop watching the video before the end, you want to get them hooked on by putting it in the beginning. But for viral ads, people generally share the ad after they see it in the end. So you might want to put the humor at the end. So which is best, putting humor up front or at the end of an ad? Lastly, when humor is involved, since humor is very idiosyncratic, what I find funny might not be what you find funny. So therefore, it's important to take people's self-monitoring tendencies into account. Self-monitoring is the intrinsic, the personality feature that taps into the likelihood that I will avoid divulging humorous content to my friends and acquaintances because I don't know how they'll behave, how they'll react to it. Some people are high self-monitors, meaning that they will try to think of the well-being of the person before they share any humorous content. Others are low in self-monitoring, meaning that whatever they find funny, they're going to share it with everybody because they don't really care. And I'll tap into these two personality dimensions. One is how extroverted or introverted you are, and how others versus self-directed you are in terms of sharing humor. So this is sort of the conceptual model that I think of when trying to understand what causes viral ads to be successful. First of all, I'm going to force exposure to these ads to a set of ads to a set of people, right, in the lab. But they're not allowed, they don't need to watch the ad until the end. Just like in real life, they'll start watching an ad. If they don't want to watch the ad until the end, they can click. So that's what I'll call viewing. Viewing means fully viewing an ad until the end. After that, if they view the ad until the end, they have the option of sharing this ad with their friends or not. They don't need to. If they want to, they can share it. And then finally, there's two different broad distinctions in terms of sharing. One is called narrow sharing. The other one is called broad sharing. And it pertains to the level, the amount of people that a person decides to share an ad with. Narrow, with very few people. I watch an ad I share with close friends. Broad sharing, I want to share it with all of the people or many of the people that I know. So there is conceptual distinctions by the type of content and by basically the goal of the sharer with sharing with few versus sharing with many. And broad sharing is what you would normally say it's called spamming, right? Spamming your friends. So what are the independent variables, the constructs that I'm going to try to understand that pertain to viral advertising success? First of all, content, right? Content of the ad might impact if it's highly or lowly viewed or shared. There's two classifications of content that it's a simplification, but I'll classify content into entertainment content and informational content. In this context, in this work, entertainment for me means humor, the amount, the type, the timing of humor. Information is all of the other elements with respect to the brand. Do people know the brand or not? The category of the product might matter. The familiarity with the ad in itself. Have I seen the ad before or not? So all of these things I will call information elements. But that's in viewing. In viewing, I make the decision for myself to view or not. When I pass this decision and I'm as a consumer in the sharing decision, suddenly this is not an individual but a social decision in which I not only have the content to take into consideration, but also my own personality with regards to my social personality with regards to other people. So in sharing, both types of sharing, I will try to understand the effect of content, entertainment and information, as well as the effect of personality characteristics and demographics, age and gender, so on and so forth, as control variables. Any questions so far? Nope. Okay, so I'll move on. So what type of data do I collect? I do two types of data collection. One in a lab in which I show ads to people, and then one out of the lab in which I send ads to the people that decided that they wanted to share these ads, and then I'm going to track sharing out of the lab, sort of in a so-called viral field study. In the lab, what I will do is I've chosen 28 viral ads, very different product categories and brands, just to allow for a wide range of ads. I use 108 participants, 37% male. Most of them are students. Not all of them are students. There's staff and mostly staff and others from the university community. Their instructions is the following. Watch these ads as you would normally watch at home. There's a short sitcom before that. They'll watch a series of these ads, all of the 28, in randomized series. And for each one, they can view it or they can press a button and skip. That will be the viewing. And if they arrive at the end of the ad, they're asked, do you want to share this ad? If they do, they're asked, how many people would you like to share this ad with? So it's sharing intent. Humor is collected via hidden webcam. I film their faces. In the next slide, I'll explain how I collect this type of data. Personalities is collected via questionnaires. There's two types of questionnaires with many items. I use Snyder's self-monitoring scale to get extroversion and others versus self-directedness. And information is collected via questionnaires. Are you familiar with the ad? Are you familiar with the brand? As well as content analysis. So let me show you how I collect a humor. Basically, I want to collect.
Is she aware? Is she aware?
So yes and no. And the reason is the following. In this long protocol that explains all of the things that the IRB requires me to say you're being filmed. But it's a hidden webcam. So they don't see the webcam that is filming them. So in effect, if they read everything, they're supposed to know. But in practice, what I notice is that they don't know by the videos that I've seen. Some have picked their nose, some have done things that I wouldn't imagine if they were aware that they would do.
Well, nice workaround with IRB. Filming.
No, it's completely in line with the IRB. So from here, I want to show you how I collect both the type of humor, if it's plain or shocking humor, the intensity of this humor, and the timing of the humor. And I want individual specific measures. I don't want to code the content and say, this ad has high humor, everybody should like it. Each person should be able to say, I liked it or I didn't like it, I found it humorous or not, without me having to ask for this information. So what I use is I use a facial recognition software. It was lent to me by people in computer sciences trying to do research on sort of like trying to identify people in public environments, and I adapted it for the advertising context. What you see here is a person's filming of a person's face. In the bottom left corner, you will see the ad that is being shown to them. And up top is just a part of the software that is coding the emotion. Basically, the software looks at deviations of the face. There's 24 deviations of important facial features. So when you smile, for example, the deviations here between your corner and the both corners of the eyes and lips will reduce, so the software can code that into an emotion if it's one of the six universal emotions that Paul Ekman has described. So let me show you how the data is collected. And what you should look is basically look at the person's facial reactions and look at here a graph that will show, on top it will show a line of the probability from 0 to 1 of them feeling neutral, no emotion, and disgust that starts in the bottom. So you can see the person feeling disgust, exhibiting it, and the graph picking up, spiking the emotion. So there's a little bit of disgust in her face that's picked up by the software, the lower line, and now it increases, look. Again, it's increasing, the disgust. Highly disgusting, her face.
Was this a real ad?
Yep, it's a Carl's Jr. ad. I don't have the video here, but I have a video in which a male around his 20s sees the same ads and is frantically laughing. He almost like cries with so much laughter. So, so this is the way the data is collected. Notice that it's collected moment by moment. So 4 times per second, I have a measure of the intensity and the type of emotion that this person is feeling. So this is the 2 prototypical emotional reactions that I capture from their face. One is pure humor, and the one is shocking humor. I probably don't need to tell you which one is which. Just a little bit of the data that I collect. So I have viewing for each ad. I have sharing for each ad. So I just looked at a few of the ads to try to understand the rates and what content is in each ad. So this is just a description of a few ads. So this is a Walmart ad, which 66% of the people viewed the ad, decided to view, meaning watch the ad until the end. And out of these 66%, 15% decided to share the ad. So I would say a low amount of viewing and low amount of sharing relative to the other ads. So this is called the Evian Babies ad and Evian Water. And you can see that 87% of the people viewed the ad until the end. And 48%, almost half of them, decided to share the ad. So this is what I would call high viewing rate and high sharing, right? And so you would probably imagine that most ads, if people don't view it much, they're unlikely to share. If people view it, decide to view predominantly view it, they'll like it, they're likely to share it. So that's not the uncommon thing for me. What I found interesting was the off diagonals. This ad, 90% of the people viewed it. It's a Dr. Pepper ad, but only 13% of them decided to share the ad. So why is this? Why are so many people watching the ad until the end, but so few people relative to the other ads are actually sharing? And the opposite also. This ad is Nolan cheddar cheese. 76% of people watched the ad, so it's considered low by the 90 and 87% standards. But more than half of them who watched the ad decided to share it. Right?
That one seems easy to understand because I'm going to not watch an ad with a rat.
Okay, so
If you are that type of person, watch an ad with a rat and you're going to share the rat.
So it could be. It could be some people like rats and some people don't like rats.
Well, but there's an aversion, have an adverse reaction to, I don't know, that's speculation.
Could very well be. My speculation was that the type of humor mattered. The type of humor that people felt mattered. I had this idea that in the viewing stage and in the sharing stage, based on the theory, in the viewing stage, this is a fundamentally individual decision. I share it or not. I'm in privacy, myself. I only control what I want to do or not. But sharing, there is a public component to it because now other people are involved. There's a social component to it. So things might, as in the theory says, what people consider good humor in private might be different from public. Sure.
Go beyond isolating humor in this. So in other words, you're talking about most of humor here, but can we talk about it in terms of, so the question I guess is the purity of humor. Say that there's something other than humor which is potentially operating here. So you have a total of 28 ads, right? So what if you were to do an analysis of those 28 ads to try and see whether there's some other element present in each of these in addition to humor? Trying to see whether that can explain some of the variance.
For example, what elements would you?
I have no idea. I mean,
Well,
so for
I would have a
example, she had
disgust
a silly reaction. I mean,
or fear or something. Yeah, I couldn't get to the humor in the rat ad. I'm not just trying to be funny.
Oh yeah, I didn't show you the humor part in it anyway.
But I'm not going to be able to get humor out of a rat.
It could be your expectation, and the change in your expectation is what actually makes it more shareable because you initially think it's going to be disgusting. You watch it, it's really funny. You go, I got to share this because there was a high information content, high amount of surprise, perhaps. And so that's a different thing than humor would be surprised, but you're already looking at that from the shocking side of humor, I suppose.
Yeah.
And it's also complicated by that you're making decisions with different amounts of information. I would, because one decision is do you view the ad, and you don't make that decision after seeing the whole ad. You make that decision at the very first of something that's in it.
So let me just clarify that element of it. You make the decision as you would make at home. You're watching the ad at any point in time. You can switch the ad. So you can.
So what counts as viewing the whole whole thing?
Whole thing.
so
Full viewing,
even if
yes.
I watched half of the rat ad and not
Yeah.
the second half, I'm
No.
not viewing it at all.
No,
Oh, I see.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay, so that helps.
But your point is well taken. So there's one line of research in humor says that all humor is has to have some level of unexpectedness, surprise, if you will. What I'm capturing is an extreme level of surprise to the point that it's facially visible, right? So I'm not capturing the full extent of surprise, not mild surprise. When somebody does this, it's a strong surprising factor. So point well taken. Yes?
The ads that are on the high sharing are, and I apologize for coming in late. It looks like there's an element of like technical novelty to it as well. Is that right? Like where these are more like common in terms of, it could potentially happen in real life in the video she's capturing, whereas dancing, walking baby, that's not physically possible, and so there's there's an element
So
of
special effects
actual,
might be.
yeah, special. That's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking. Yeah, special
I think that would probably play a role. I didn't code for that. I think it would play a role. So just to be clear, what I'm interested in is not specifically the content of the ads. I'm not interested in saying, if you put this in, this is going to happen. If you put that in, if you put a baby, if you put a dog, if you put a thing. I'm interested in the emotional relationship that the ad evokes that is individual specific. Some people might find it humorous, some people might find not humorous, but I'm interested in understanding that relationship with these sequential decisions that people make of viewing and sharing and how many people to share it with. At that level that I am, but I definitely see the point in which some content will definitely play a role.
And physiologically, with the watching the face and measuring, can you tell disgust from shock?
Yes. So the previous, yes, because they're, in when shock is surprising, yes. So what I showed you in the previous commercial is a purely disgust face. Yeah, so Paul Ekman says that is a universal emotion. There's a facial expression to that, and surprise is, yes, it's very different. So yeah, but not all emotions. We can't show all of the nuances and emotions that are shared. So yep, again.
So in this framework, is surprise tied to a positive or a negative activation, or is it neutral?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know, and I'm agnostic to that. Let's see what the data says. You'll take the conclusion that you want. But even in theory, there's emotional theorists that say surprising is a neutral emotion. It can be positive or negative, but it's neutral. And what happens after that might be positive or negative. And others say, no, surprising is either positive or negative. Right? So there's not even a Plechik and Izard have different views on the valence of surprise. But let me show you the data. I'm going to skip the model. The modeling is just basically an understanding of the factors, the content and the information factors in each decision to try to tease out what implicates viewing and what implicates sharing. So I'll skip that. If you have any questions, we can go back to that. Oh, this is a kind of a glitch from Microsoft, but so let me show you what I'll show you here. So basically what I'm going to show you is the parameters of a model, it's like a regression model with the fact that there's different stages, decisions to be understood. There's a viewing, there's a sharing, and there's a level of sharing, where a level could be high, broad versus narrow sharing. So anything above the 0 line means that the content induces each of these decisions. Anything below, the content inhibits. So hopefully it'll come out. It didn't come out nicely. This is not the way. So let me try to explain a little bit. So H means pure humor, and S means shocking humor. Where the letter is the parameter, the mean parameter value. And you'll see there's bars, which is the variation of the parameter. So when you see H, it's always positive and it's highest in share. means that pure humor, whenever a person feels pure humor in the ad, they're more likely to view, they're more likely to share, and they're more likely to share broadly with many people. That's expected. I found no unexpected effects there. What is unexpected is in the shocking humor. For the shocking humor, you see that it's positive in viewing. People are more likely to view ads that they feel shocking humor. But when you look at sharing, surprise is negative. Shocking humor is negative, meaning people are less likely to share an ad in which they feel shocking humor versus no humor at all.
And this is across personality types?
This is across personality types, controlling for personality types, and I'll show you the effect of personality types.
What about the temporal aspects of when you share?
Could you elaborate what temporal aspect?
What time do you share something?
What time?
Upon finishing viewing,
Mm-hmm.
you share, right?
I force them to decide to share or not after the end of the ad. So I don't vary this. I don't know how to.
What about where's the shock in the shocking ones?
Okay, so I can show you the data of where's the shock. But you have ads, I don't have the graph, but you have ads that have shocking at different points in time. I'll show you where it matters most and where it matters least. Yeah. So the point here is this. What people choose to view and what they choose to share are very different content. Pure humor induces viewing and sharing. Shocking humor increases viewing, but decreases sharing relative to no humor at all. So the other element is the timing effect of humor. When is humor mostly associated with viewing and sharing? When is it most effective? In the beginning, in the middle, or the end of the ad? So what you have here is a graph of the parameter over time. So this regression is what we call a dynamic regression. It means that I allow for humor in different points in time during a 30-second ad to have a differential impact on each decision. The dotted line is the mean parameter, and the contours are 95% confidence interval, and you'll see where the 0 mark is. So the way to interpret this first graph is that the impact of pure humor increases over time. So as a person feels humor later on in the ad, this increases viewing even more. So an effective humor ad would have humor more towards the end than towards the beginning of the ad.
What are the three different lines?
Yeah, so the line in the middle is the mean, and their confidence intervals, in effect. Right? So with the exception of the first couple of seconds, everything is positive, meaning humor always increases viewing. Humor towards the end has a higher impact on viewing than in the beginning. For shocking humor, what you see here is a different picture. When you see 0 is right about at the middle, so shocking humor does not have an increasing impact on viewing. So putting shocking humor at the beginning, at the middle, of the end, it doesn't have a significant effect on viewing. Now let's see for sharing. The same thing happens here. I just plot 3 different instances of the parameter effect. In the beginning, in the middle, and the end. So let's go through the first one. So it's pure humor on sharing, right? Conditional on a person viewing. What is the impact of pure humor? In the beginning, it's positive. Then it becomes null. And then towards the end, it becomes positive again. Meaning that humor in the beginning and at the end have an impact on sharing, but not in the middle. Right? So if you want to design a clever a viral ad, you want to make sure you put humor in the beginning to get people's attention, and at the end, prior to the moment in which they're likely to decide to share or not. Well, I'm sorry. For shocking humor, what you see here is that in the beginning and the end, it's non-significant, but it's negatively correlated with sharing in the middle of the ad. So. It doesn't sound like you want to use shocking humor, no. Particularly not in the middle of the ad. Sorry?
Isn't it a little bit strange for the beginning, though?
In what sense?
In the sense that it's shocking humor humorous, so wouldn't that be more time you would expect to probably share something just because of shock value?
It would be more what? I'm sorry?
They don't share it.
They don't.
And it might wear off by the end.
By the end, yeah.
They can't share at the beginning of the ad, right? They can only share once
Oh,
they're
afterwards,
finished.
They only share at the end. This is the impact of feeling and emotion in the beginning of the ad on sharing, feeling and emotion in the middle of the ad on sharing, feeling and emotion at the end, right? So the natural implication is in viral ads, pure humor should be used in the start and in the end, while shocking humor should be avoided particularly in the middle of the ad. So now let's talk about, and the title is wrong here again, let's talk about the role of personality. So how does personality? I've captured two measures of personality in the lab. Is a person extroverted or not? And is the person directed towards others' well-being or self-directed, directed towards their own well-being? So again, problems here with the graph. But what you can see is E is extroverted, O is others directed. So again, extroversion increases both sharing and broad sharing, right? The level of sharing. People who are extroverted are more likely to share and with more people. I think that's fairly obvious. I don't think it's counterintuitive. What was different from my expectation is the others directedness element. My initial assumption was that since by and large, these ads are humorous, people who view humorous ads, they like it, they enjoy it, they're more likely to share with others because they think others will benefit from it. What I find here, as you can see, the parameter is either null on sharing or negative of level of sharing, is that people who are directed towards others are less likely to share viral ads.
For fear of offending someone or wasting their time?
Your guess is as good as mine. I only show the relationship, but I think there's a good explanation.
There's a little story on NPR yesterday of politicians and why they use humor. I'm sure they don't use shocking humor.
Mm-hmm.
It's not safe.
Exactly, it's not safe.
But here, it happens even for pure humor, not just for shocking humor, even for pure humor.
But that makes you actually look good, because then you're more human and more like the population was the argument, was the
Okay.
theme
Mm-hmm.
of,
Yeah.
of that story,
I see.
which sort of fits in here, right? That if you're actually concerned about the effects on you personally of doing the sharing,
Mm-hmm.
then you'd be much more likely to share something that's, good, clean humor,
Yeah.
than something that's shocking and might
Offend, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I would, I'm sorry, Francesca.
Quick question of the share and the level of share. How would those two measures capture somebody who's willing to share with a very close group of peers, but not willing to share with people that are, say, just acquaintances?
That is just the share decision.
Okay.
So this is share, a narrow share, and the other one is level of share, meaning broad share versus narrow share. So this is would the person be likely to share or not? And this one means, would the person be likely to share with many people versus with few people?
So if it's negative, that means they're willing to share with few people?
They're less willing to share.
With a lot of people?
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm still confused on how level to share. So the level to share
Is
number is
magnitude.
negative. It means they're less willing to share with a lot of people, but not necessarily less willing to share in general.
So let me just explain then. So the parameter here says if people are others directed, they're not more likely to share the ad because it's yeah. And here is people who are others directed are less likely to share the ad with many people versus with few. So you have to combine the two parameters to get at both incidence as well as level or intensity of sharing. So putting all of these together, what factors matter most? I have all of the factors. I have the three decisions: viewing, selective sharing, which is just sharing, and broad sharing. what matters most? Content, personality, what type of content? So on the y-axis, you see the relative importance of the factors that I analyzed. And you see that information content, and basically novelty of the ad, the brand, represents around 37% of explained variance in the viewing decision.
You mean how much they know about it, or how much information's in the ad? How much information they had about it?
So it's a combination of a few factors. Is the ad novel or not? Are they familiar with the brand or not? And the last factor is it a product category that requires sort of information knowledge? For example, it's a utility product, right? So it's a combination of these three factors. So the interpretation is that between entertainment and information content, ads with more information content are more likely to be viewed. The successful viral ads have more information or content, but when you look at the sharing decisions, information content explains much less than entertainment. Entertainment matters for all three decisions. So successful viral ads are still the ones that have a lot of humor. Now what about personality? How does personality play a role in teasing out the successful versus unsuccessful viral campaigns? So this is what we find, both for extroversion and others' directedness. Personality doesn't matter too much in viewing. It actually doesn't matter at all. When viewing ads, personality doesn't have an effect. What personality starts to have an effect is in the sharing decisions, particularly people who are sharing ads with many people. The key factor is not the content, it's the personality of these people. And as I've shown before, people who are more extroverted and more self-centered are more likely to share ads and with many people. So in viral ads, content explains 43% of the variation in success for viral campaigns, and personality explains the sender. The sender's personality explains 20 to 34% of a video's shared views. And this 20 to 34% depends on if it's either a broad or narrow sharing. So the point is, sort of content is still the most important factor. Content is king, but personality is a very powerful queen. It's very important, particularly for people who share with many. Yes, sir.
What happens to these ads after you share? So in terms of your sharing either to a broad community or a narrow community of users, what happens afterwards? What do those people do? Do you have any data on that? Does it take a life of its own? Are there some ads which are shared even more? Does it keep sort of spreading?
Not in this research. I haven't looked much at this research. I was just looking at these three dependent variables. What I see from the data that I looked at, it goes much in line with what Duncan Watts has published a paper on, talking much about the myth of viral ads. This thing that people go on sharing an ad and then they get it and they share it again and they get it and share it again. All of this viral loop is not present at all in the data that I collected, and it seems to be not present in general. It dies out pretty quickly. So if you want a good viral campaign, you have to get many people to view the ad, and then sharing will go on a little bit, but it will die pretty quickly. So it doesn't take a life of its own. That's the information.
You're looking at source effects here, and you're looking at it in terms of everything coming from the perspective of the sender, right?
Yeah.
So in terms of,
That's
look at
right.
it from, we look at so many aspects of online news and how gatekeeping has changed so much in terms of the receiver can also be the purveyor as well as the disseminator of news.
Exactly.
So if you look at all of these as receivers, that puts a different spin on this entirely, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. I did not collect any data on the receiver, the personality of the receiver, and what they decide to do with it.
And so was the sharing actual sharing, or just they thought they were sharing?
So in the lab, it was sharing intention. I'm going to go into the actual out of the lab sharing data that will mimic most of the results. And I'll talk about that in the following. Yes?
Okay, maybe you're going to get to this. because I think there's so many lab effects here for these social psychology type studies. A lot of it has to do with the efficacy of being able to do it quickly and easily in a more natural setting and so on.
Sure.
It seems to me that looking at a number of sort of viral, humorous ads and seeing if you could kind of reverse engineer and predict what actually happened, because you have historical data, right? That you could maybe look at.
How so historical data in terms of?
Well, yeah, if YouTube talked to you about sharing sort of some of the ad behavior, they probably actually would know, say, over a 1 month period of time, what were the number of views, what were the number of comments.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
And you would actually be able to go in and test your model with the actual historical data.
Exactly. The problem, I agree with that, but the problem that I did not do this is the following. If you look at, let's say, YouTube data, when you analyze a series of ads, what happens is that each different ad has a different amount of promotion from the brand on its ad. So the Old Spice ad was not just, let's put the ad here and let's see if it takes off. There was a lot of promotion, particularly TV advertising, to get people to go online and see these ads. And when you look at the Ford ad, there's less amount of that. So there's variation in the amount of initial promotion of the ad. And so if I did that, it's not a level playing field. Here, I expose all ads to everybody, and I see which one takes off without this initial benefit of being well promoted or under promoted.
I like the control of your lab.
So it's the traditional external versus internal validity. There's more control, but it's a little bit more contrived context. Yep.
Did you check to make sure that or to see whether or not any of your subjects had seen any of the ads before?
So familiarity with the ad is in the information element of it. So are they familiar or not? Yep. So sorry, Celine.
Did the type of humor interact with either of the personalities?
Yeah, we'll go on to that next.
I'll wait.
Yep. Okay. So let's look at real-world data, measuring the impact of content and personality together out of the lab. What I did was the following. Everybody in the lab had to see each ad, and they had to say, oh, I want to share this ad or not. If they said, yes, I want to share it, I sent the ad in a page with a tag that I was able to track how many views from that specific person. So if they said they want ad 1, ad 5, ad 7, ad 21, I sent all of them independently to the person, and I waited and I started tracking from sharing how many views were derived by each ad by each person, right? So extroverted and other directedness, I already knew in the lab from what I collected, so I know which type of personality each person is. And then they receive an email with each ad that says, here's a link to the ad you chose to share. You do whatever you want with it, and I track the sharing. And what I'm going to show you is the total amount of derived views from each ad, from each person, right, that I'm able to measure. I'll start with a baseline. 100 will be my baseline. It's going to be the ads that have low amount of humor. So all of the ads I'm going to divide into either through a medium split, either in high amount of humor or low amount of humor, and the type of humor, and I'm going to see the interaction with personality. So all ads that have low amount of humor have a baseline of, let's say, 100 views, total views. When you add ads with high amount of pure humor, then you see almost 200% increase in viewers, in derived views during a period of a month. 2 weeks, I think. When it's shocking humor, there's more than low humor, but there's less than pure humor. So there's a replication of the lab effect in which shocking humor, some people will share it, but there's less share than pure amount of humor. When it's a person that is extroverted and sharing an ad high in pure humor, you can see there's almost 300% more relative to the baseline. So there's a significant interaction effect between extroverted people sharing pure humor ads. When it's pure humor and the person is others directed, it reduces. So a person who is interested in the well-being of receivers actually shares less pure humor ads. So you can start thinking of, why is that the case? Why is that people who are interested in others share less? This is a pure humor. It should be positive content. What we find is this. The viral ads that get most amount of total views are of the pure humor type, are shared by extroverted people, and are shared by self-interested people. It's about them. It's not about others. I'm going to share the ad with you, but I'm really focused on myself. So the point is, it's not just about content, personality also matters. You know, viral ads are more of a result of self-interested sharing than purely altruistic. Oh, this is great content, everybody's going to love it, and so I'm going to send it out. They're trying to get something in this process. And now let me talk about what I think they're trying to get out of this process. Right? Why are people who are self-interested sharing more than others interested? This is a little depiction of what I see as traditional paid media. There's a distributor, CBS. They create some shows, but they also hire other people to produce some shows, like Jerry Bruckheimer, which produces CSI. So Evian Water wants to advertise on TV. What did they do is, Evian Water wants attention to their brand. They pay some money to CBS. CBS is a distributor, pays for the content creator a little bit of the money, keeps the rest, and gets attention from the viewer, who is directed to the advertiser. This is the advertiser paying for attention. This is a traditional paid attention model. What happens with viral ads? With viral ads, Evian sends the ad to somebody or puts it on YouTube, and somebody sees this ad. This person actually sends it to their acquaintances below. So this person actually acts as a distributor of the content. So why is the person distributing the content if they're not getting money for it? My view is, yes, they are getting some currency, and what I call social currency. They're getting social capital by being the ones that are sharing with their network of friends this new, intrinsically exciting, pure humor type of content, something that they think is valuable, they think that their network of acquaintances will value, and they're building social capital in the process. So that's why my title is Successful Viral Advertisement is actually paid media. But it's not the paid in currency, it's the paid in allowing your customer, your distributor, to benefit by sharing this content, benefiting through earning social capital.
What about if you send it because you're disgusted with it? Maybe I'm rather unusual. I teach media ethics, and so I have lots of former students and current colleagues send me examples of ads that are really sexist or tacky or just offensive in any way, ethically questionable. But I guess that maybe is just a blip. Not a lot of people.
They're academics. They're not normal people.
So normally people share things they like, not things they dislike.
I don't know, but I could even argue that maybe they're trying to send a signal to you by sharing this type of content. And in sending the signal, they're gaining some social capital by saying, hey, I found this. Hey, I'm aware of this.
I agree with that. The question is that successful? So successful
okay.
is being shared for any reason, whether it's positive or negative. I definitely think the social capital thing. But you're assuming that all sharing is positive. Sort of like, I don't care what you say about me, just as long as you mention me.
Yeah, so that's a good point. I'm not making a judgment of value if sharing could actually be bad for the firm. Good point. So here I'm working with humor ads. The firm created these ads that are likely to sort of try to maximize the amount of viewing within a demographics, right? Not to everybody and not to the faculty researching advertising ethics. Yes, sir.
What are the types of comments which accompany these ads? So the bottom of the screen, right? I mean, you can comment on anything, right? So what are the types of comments? What do those comments actually reflect?
I don't know. I haven't checked.
Because, I was just thinking of what you said, and just a few weeks ago, there was an article about Google having this campaign, the research labs, right? What makes a YouTube video funny?
Mm-hmm.
They have something called a slam team.
A what?
Slam team.
Slam team.
Slam team. That's the Google Research Labs. A guy called somebody Shetty. That's I don't know.
So he gets to watch videos and
So what they're trying to do is, so the slam team's job is they're trying to figure out what makes a YouTube video funny, and one of the ways in which they're trying to get at that is to see the types of comments. So they're including things like LOL, ROFL, all those as examples of things that definitely are funny. Those things. So I'm just wondering whether that might give us some insights in terms of whether it's really the appreciation and the appreciation of humor and something else which might give us more.
That's a good point. Yeah, yeah, that's definitely a worthwhile endeavor to look at what are the reactions. What I'm just getting is a facial reaction that translates into the type of humor and the intensity of humor at each point in time. But definitely to understand a little bit more of the nuances that happen, that definitely would be a great follow-up study to look at sort of more cognitive elaboration of the humor and how people feel about it versus just this basic. I agree, it's a very simple classification of pure humor and shocking humor. That would be a good follow-up.
I hear Dr. Zillman's voice asking about disparaging humor too, but I guess you didn't differentiate or even think you were disparaging humor versus
What is disparaging humor?
making fun of humor at someone's expense.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
Put downs.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. You can have like PhD level put downs too. Some people miss them. You don't ever get some.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Yeah, no, I haven't looked at. There's actually additional research to really understand that. There's two ways to do it. You can do a content analysis, right? You can do what I do, which is trying to, without understand the content, understand how people react to the content. And there's definitely pros and cons of each, but there's additional research to try to understand different types of smiles and how that plays a role in different, more elaborate reactions. So there's so-called a Duchenne smile, and there's other types of smirky smiles, one-sided smiles, and things like that. And as this technology is being developed to capture more nuances, we're able to ask these questions and really get the data and really look at saying this type of smile has a relationship with this type of humor content, and what is the impact on viewing and sharing.
Can you do them?
So far I can't. No.
Make your face do a specific kind of
Oh,
smile.
I don't. I
But
no.
that's hard. I mean, you can react to something with a smile, but purposefully. Well, no.
Yeah, no. Well, probably the half smile, something like that. I don't know. Yeah, I've seen. Yeah. My students do to me all the time when I explain something. They're like, eh. So I've learned how to do that one. So just to finalize, let me just give you two concrete examples of companies that are sort of purposefully trying to leverage this element of enabling their distributor, their consumer, to get social capital by sharing ads. So this is the Old Spice campaign. You probably know the successful viral Old Spice campaign. They did a video on TV, then they went online, it became a huge success, and then they did something quite clever, I think. They got the Old Spice actor to respond with small snippets of ads. Some of them are a few seconds long. Well, there's 40, 50 seconds. To respond to Twitter accounts. And so they chose a few Twitter accounts, and they created an ad specifically responding to either famous personalities, where you can see here Ellen DeGeneres or Perez Hilton, or to very unknown people, which is Kevin Rose or Jay Beal, something like that. By doing that, they created an incentive for these people to distribute the ad. Because if you're one of these people, what you want to do is get the ad and then send it to everybody you know and basically say, look at, there's an ad responding to me. So that's a way for these people to gain social capital by distributing. And they did for 200 videos. They did almost 200 videos with these small snippets. And when you aggregate up all the views, there's 7 million here, 2 million there, it becomes something quite significant. But not all companies can actually shoot, 180 small snippets. So what Virgin Atlantic did was also quite clever, and I think they're tapping at creating the opportunity for a sharer to gain social capital, which is this. This is an email that says, we've got it. Now you can share it. Be among the first to watch our brand new TV commercial. What they did is they sent an email to their frequent flyers, and they said, in 1 week, we will be launching a great new, very cool new national campaign on TV. You're getting privileged access to this ad. And by the way, there's a button there that you can share it if you want. What happens? Now I have the capability to share it with people and gain social capital because I can say, I got this ad before everybody else saw it. And so they're creating an opportunity for these people, these consumers, to gain by sharing the content. So this is 2 examples in which you can embed in your content the capability for consumers to gain social capital. And with that, I end my talk. Thank you very much. This was a very, very useful conversation, and I look forward to talking more about it. Thank you very much. I think there's 5 minutes.